Sì, Baladeva.
I mean, no. I think probably the most important thing that I would like to press upon all of us, especially at least this is in terms of my personal experience, and that is that the deity is a person. Kṛṣṇa is actually there. Radharani is actually there. Deity are actually there. Jagannātha, Subhadrā, they're actually there. No matter which deity. And so we really want to keep our let's say our techniques as personal as possible. On the other hand, the service to the arcā-vigraha is not exactly, it's not going to be the same exactly in every respect to the service that we would be performing in our spiritual bodies when we, by their grace, get the chance to go back to Godhead or go to the nitya-līlās of Kṛṣṇa and then go gopī-deha or gopa-deha, whatever, according to our natural constitutional position. There's things in the deity worship which you will obviously not take with you. But there's some basic elements. The idea of decorating Kṛṣṇa is here, and the same idea of decorating Kṛṣṇa is there. So it's not that the substance changes, but in certain respects, the form changes. The service doesn't change in the sense that we're pressing Kṛṣṇa and that we're serving Kṛṣṇa, feeding Kṛṣṇa, massaging Kṛṣṇa, and all these things, different personal services to Radha Kṛṣṇa. But the form, the way in which we accomplish the thing is going to change. You know, we want to ornament Kṛṣṇa, but in that realm, we'll be slipping a ring over his finger. In this realm, we'll be sticking it on with blue tack or with beeswax or whatever we have at our disposal. So there are going to be certain things that are not going to be there. So, but we have to be practical. And also we have to take advantage of whatever Kali Yuga is offering us as facility for doing. Right? In spiritual world, we're not going to have Kṛṣṇa strung up like a marionette, with strings hanging his cloth this way and that way. But at the same time, in this world, in the context of the temple worship, like Kṛṣṇa is standing on a singhasan. Likely you won't see a singhasan as such. You may see Sankayo singhasan, a jeweled throne, as it were, in the Kṛṣṇa yogapi. But you won't see a situation where there's lines running across and strings hanging down to facilitate various angles of approach. You won't see these things there. But here, we have to take advantage of these facilities in order to, the most important point, is to project a mood, to somehow capture the deity's mood and help to bring out that mood. Just like at least in Vrindavan, in our Vrindavan temple, Radha Shyam Sundar are in the dancing mood. Prabhupada said that Radharani has two most important arcs. That is cooking and dancing. And of the two, Prabhupada said that dancing is the most important. If Radharani stops dancing, then the whole show is finished. So we have to remember that the deities as persons, and especially in that they're dancing, we have to keep in mind that in presenting the deity for the pleasure of the devotees, for their inspiration, to help inspire them to also dance, chant in Sankirtan and Vrindavan, which Prabhupada has mentioned that every temple, wherever there's one tulsi plant, according to Padma, that is as good as Vrindavan. Of course, there's like home away from home, and then there's really home. So there's a little difference between the Vrindavan or Mayantor, which is actually Vrindavan in magnitude, just like the drop of water in the ocean and the ocean are one. So anyway, in Vrindavan, we have this mood of Kṛṣṇa and Radharani dancing in Rasa Leela. And in any case, our whole aim is to inspire the devotees to become to join Krishna's dancing party. Prabhupada is told in relationship to one of Narottam Das Thakur's Kirtana songs that the goal of this Krishna consciousness movement is to join Radha Krishna's dancing party, to join in the Rasa Leela. So the whole purpose of the deity worship is to inspire devotees and also to attract, as Janani Baz was saying, the public, to the lotus feet of Krishna, to their beauty. But the idea is to bring out their beauty, to bring out the sweetness, to bring out the mood of the deity and the matter of their dancing affair. So then there are different techniques in the matter of hanging the clothes in various ways to help to, at least within our minds as we see the deity, generate that movement. Although we may not be qualified to see Radha and Krishna dancing directly, that's on a higher platform. That you will come to gradually. And you shouldn't think that it's impossible, because it certainly is possible to see Radha and Krishna dancing and to see and we hear Krishna speaking. It is definitely a transcendental reality which a devotee makes progress, and as the devotee, in reciprocation to the devotee's service, the deity will naturally show mercy on the devotee. Gradually these things will happen. But until that happens, at least we want to help devotees to see movement, motion, and help get one of the most important aspects of dressing the deity is to help to lead the viewer's eye to keep, you could say, sweet spots. The deity's face. So you don't want to dress in such a way that the eye of the viewer is distracted from the deity. You want to bring the eye of the viewer in, which means that you have to understand certain things about balance, line, color coordination, and various other aspects of the deity worship, which or the deity dressing, which we will gradually, let's say, unfold. For your inspiration and edification, the wire. So
I think that's as much as I'm going to say at this point.
Not all people get interviewed with all. On questions, having people show up. We really want to keep this course practical. I think like 50% theory, percent with more backboneness, talking. I mean, I deal with I-Fi, but a lot very serious. So we need to work out with Aindra and how we're going to coordinate it. Make it. We have 5.
Rob versus Jester.
Yeah.
Why use many workers in your hair? Breaking your groups like that? Yeah. You're not have my person do or the other person in the other various group. He's back there. And then we'll check out with the solar effect system. Right. Something like that.
And probably we'll have to break up the groups. Says like 5 days, so we have today's like introduction and time to do some in today, and then there's 24 students here, so there's 6 easy hairs and 6 Krishnas to Radhanis, and yeah,
8 plus 6 is beat.
there's 6.
Like 2 days.
There's 6 Krishnas to Radha, and there's
No, there's one of the like dolphin.
okay. Anyway, everybody will get a chance. This is what I hope is everybody will get a chance. One day they can practice on turbans, and then one day on Marpani, and then in the book. Now we can look. I think that would work out. So something like that.
Yeah.
So everybody gets a chance to, because otherwise, 15 minutes you can't do much. But if you need to work on the turbans, it's taken me 20 years. And I still go back to the Jordan. So, in 4 days, I'm not sure cruising. And I stress a lot on turbans because that's the most difficult thing for you to do. The other things, most pujaris pick up on, putting jewelry and pinning up verses. There's a few little works that, people do long, like sometimes when they pin up right on each other, they'll pin it at the end, they pin it up slightly into the end, hangs down, and stuff like that. Just basically, it's common sense when you keep the flow. So there's a few common sense things. Once you catch that, the dressing is fairly straightforward. You can't really go too much wrong. But the turban, and Radharani had said somewhere about symmetry, keeping the symmetry of melodies, the hair. So we put the jewelry like this into flowers. So Radharani is a lot easier to dress. Kṛṣṇa, because it is asymmetry, it's a lot more difficult. And in the beginning, pujaris tend to pile everything on. At least I did when I started, just pile everything on. So, and it took me years and years now. And then finally, Krishna gave me some intelligent kaji think about dressing turbans. And even now, I'm struggling. So, but I can share that experience with you. So mainly, I'm going to be focusing on. I'll focus on turban. I also assist with this Aindra with the dressing and so on as he wishes. And then Aindra will also show you turbans. He has the Deity style, different styles. And built it between us, you'll speak an idea of his course, and you'll actually have something practical with with you, and not just theory. Because theory is one thing, but you actually have to practice it, and then you experience it. And so you keep that, take it away with you. By
I think as about running, or unique, as you're dressing, they actually give you intelligence to not be over as well. I've experienced that, over the years, how I would always pray at the feet of Lily, the deity, to be able to somehow or other get the intelligence to do it nicely. And then I would approach Radha Sundars in Rindat. And amazingly, as you're doing it, new ideas come which, are within the context of the realm of possibilities, and you get great inspiration, and then you have something you can share, Jeff.
So, so maybe you can show everybody how you dress Radha and Krishna today. They just first feeling.
Yeah, the thing is that
They have bleeding race.
and I want all of you to understand that I've never given a seminar before, so you'll have to bear with me, because I'm not really, a teacher as such. I'm just it's just like I don't really teach playing harmony. I never had a teacher to play harmonium. I just picked it up and hashed it out and learned, on my own. So it's difference between being a music teacher and being a kirtaniya as such. So similarly, there's a difference between being the pujari and teaching, but we can still share whatever I know. Hopefully you may add that to your repertoire of ideas, and if it helps you, then go and have you, boss. So we can unfortunately we need, at least what I see there is that Radha and Krishna, one instruction that I can give from the very beginning is that you never see any pictures anywhere of Shamsundar wearing only pants and chadar. Either it's dhoti and chadar, or if there are pants, there's a dancing skirt also. So I don't see a dancing skirt. Here he's wearing pants and chadar,
Upper back. To the sash.
for the sash, but do we have any other business?
We'll work with that every day plus we have.
Or do we have any other like, is it any unmatched dhotis or adhesives?
No, there.
But it doesn't have to be necessarily matching, at least.
Just do arcā-vigraha.
So maybe we can turn our chair, then you walk on your team.
Yeah.
Let's do what? Some good to you. Then you give it. You. Okay, is a machine. Yeah, nice. Yeah, yes, slept so. Oh, even we can do this. We agree with this. It's no. Also, oh, 4 de lait.
Na.
But I have city on fire, sorry, my eczema. And I did a bloody there. Then there is go to
In a day or so,
and they brought with some sample pictures, which might also pictures worth 1,000 words, right? So, of different dressings that I hid in Nama, and hopefully, unfortunately, I left a lot of pictures in Vrindavan that was going to bring here.
And maybe if I'm lucky, another devotee coming to bring them.
But the Śrī Caitanya Prabhu will arrange a projector, and we can
At least view, so that I can point out some different ideas, different styles, because there's many ways to hang the cloth.
in order to bring under.
And I guess the first thing here, Gaura Chaitanya Prabhu is fixing the lions. It's a little long. And this is one of the most important things, is to know where the light should be coming from, where you're going to need them.
That is a star. Sadova Shin Salkos.
Jestem wionoja, łatwiej. Teraz opowieści.
This set. Everybody try to make it happy. Sounds so blunt, channel.
So, where is it? Oh yeah. One of the main things that we have to understand is that there's actually a system, progressive system, which should be observed. You don't want to do things like, after putting on the dress, you realize that you didn't put on the blouse. So the blouse has to go first, or the kurta has to go first, then the dress, and then the dhoti, like that. And then after putting the dhoti on, before you put your chadar on, you don't want to put your chadar on and then put the garland on and then realize that you didn't put the belt or the sash, things like that. So there's a progressive system, and the idea is that you should dress in such a way that once you've done something, it's done right, and you never have to go back to it to rectify any mistakes. In other words, as you're going along, everything has to be done meticulously, so that when you come up to the top, and put the crown and decorating is finished, and you don't have to go back and redo things. So it's important to
It's important to understand that. 20. Fire.
So usually after bathing the deity, I don't know, what do we have? Like, we have things like angle bells and the rings and this.
Yeah.
You wear any blue? Okay.
Yeah, blue thing, fake,
Okay, good.
and yeah, everything. Then go.
This make up maybe what this is. Wow. This is what you got to do in
Mystique, very important.
these are the only beam of recipes you have. You some necklace are the only ones, and they're strong. Anyway, but just give me the you should bring some much.
Basically, man. I don't know what people.
Okay.
No.
Then these are simple things that you always start after bathing. When they do it all. Oh yeah. About blue tech. The deity dressing has to be photo perfect. Okay? Because the photo doesn't lie. You know, every little mistake you make is going to come out in the photo. So one of the most important things is that blue tack should not show anywhere. You know, it shouldn't be oozing out, from behind the rings or behind the earrings or this or that. And also, as far as pins are concerned, pins should never show.
Especially with the flowers.
Yeah. When you're decorating flowers, it's the most childish looking thing in my book. It looks so stupid when they have a big fat pin in the middle of the flower, stick. You always pin flower from behind. And there's different ways to do that. Some will be so. But wander here and wander here. It's your little Stephen. We will just pretend. Make sure that the blue tack is on the back side.
There you have the angle does make the measure. There you have the angle does make the measure. There you don't read the design.
Yeah, right. If you're if you can get the mate and another nice thing that because I had some ankle bells made which look like the ankle bells you always see in the pictures. Instead of going around the ankle, it kind of comes over the foot a little. That looks very sweet. It'll hang on the ankle, but it'll come down over the foot. And it's instead of being like this, it's like in an angle, like that. It's very nice.
Everyone feel difficulty and see, please come and do. Take care. Bye, please come to you. Just come close. Yeah, here cheers in front. Just come with. Pull over. Can go. Be out later. Maybe you can go back. What the hell?
It also be